Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, July 13th, 2015. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The role of money is the biggest threat to democracy. That is according to activist Conley Rose, who was a panelist on last Sunday's Hit Talk program. The discussion was based around the hefty sums that Caribbean political parties spend during their electoral campaigns in the hopes of influencing voters and improving the transparency and accountability of campaign financing while keeping the electoral politics competitive. According to Rose, laws should be put in place to regulate election funding. He is calling for transparency with regards to campaign funding and spending of political parties here in SVG.
All political parties need funding to play their part in the process of political development in any country. We're looking at St. Vincent and the broader Caribbean. Yet the role of money in politics is arguably the biggest threat to democracy today. From my knowledge or my understanding, the OECS met in Jamaica in 2010 to look at a more regulatory framework of campaign finances and so on. But based on what was reported, most Caribbean countries or the leaders said they're not ready for that. Jamaica is more advanced with some legislation, not passed but discussing. Other countries say it will take us another 10 years to do that. 2001, large sums of money, large rallies, we moved from the smallness to massive sums, millions, hundreds of thousands or whatever. And it must have an impact to influence voters in some respects. We look at it in St. Kitts, we look at it in Antigua, we look at it in Dominica. The question is, where is this money coming from?
Another panelist, Philbert John, disagrees with Rose's views and says the matter of transparency is not so much a necessity here as, in his opinion, Vincentians do not care about where or from whom a political party acquires its funding.
Yes, there's evidence that money is being spent, but is it necessarily being spent by the candidates or the parties? So we could question that. And on the issue of disclosure, asking parties and our candidates to disclose the sources of their campaign financing, what difference would it really make to our democracy? What difference would it make to governance, the quality of governance that may not be emerged from whatever party is victorious? And does the public really care? The people who vote, do they care about where a party gets its financing? And
Barrister at law K. Bacchus Brown says that there is enough evidence to show that SVG is in the period where large sums of monies are being spent during election campaigns, and that Vincentians just have to look around them to see what is happening. She added that it is incorrect to assume that Vincentians are unaware of the sums spent during political campaigns, and that because there is no legislation in place, they are unsure as how to proceed in dealing with such matter.
When the topic was sent to me, just asking persons generally, what do you think about monitoring campaign financing and whether there should be laws and disclosure and so forth? And every person I spoke to, when they thought about it, said yes, it should be done. So that's just to tell you that people are aware of what is going on, because there was this incident of $1 million US being put into the banks and by a political party, and the issue was raised, and it has never been satisfactorily answered. And persons, still voted ostensibly for the party without having these questions answered. The public, they are interested, but they do not know where to go, and it is because of the lack of legislation why we have not had the matter taken up in a more serious matter.
Bacchus Brown says it is not difficult to regulate the monies attained and invested in the campaigns. She says that the Barbados legislation on regulating this is testimony that it can be done here in SVG. The attorney further states her reasons why SVG should have the legislation passed, adding that it is necessary for a bit more transparency to prevent issues such as bribery, blackmail, and undue pressure, as well as corruption.
Let me start off by saying what I think are the reasons why we should have it. So the transparency is necessary so that persons will know if when a party is elected, they give out jobs or to persons who gave them monies, we can analyze and see if it is proper or not. So to me, that's the major reason why the public must be interested. The second one, which I think is also important, is to prevent bribery. We know in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that persons go wrong with a purse. They go to certain business houses, they go to certain friends, colleagues, professionals during an election requesting money. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. As you say, you have to have money to finance your campaign. But if it reaches a stage where you're almost feeling threatened that if you don't give a 50,000 or 10,000 or so and so, when we get in, you never know. Now, that is another reason why campaign funding should be declared. It should be open and transparent. It is to prevent bribery or to prevent undue pressure on persons to contribute to a political party.
Explaining that, like the education revolution, the housing revolution is a basic human right, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves says while many do not see the science behind it, its benefits will eventually be felt. Handing out letters for housing lots for the Chateaubriand, Fitzhugh, Kakata and Spring Village areas last Friday at the Spring Village playing field, PM Gonsalves says everyone should be afforded the opportunity to have a comfortable place to live.
Therefore, housing is a human right. Oh, there are lots of other human rights. They're in the laws. There are political rights. There are human rights and freedoms. Yes. And we must defend and uphold those. But if you're talking about rights, you have to talk about housing too as a human right. Because if you don't have a roof over your head, what the scriptures is telling us, the fox got the hole and the birds got the nest. Where is yours? Huh? So it's a human right.
Minister of Housing Montgomery Daniel says the housing policy is indicative of his administration's care for the people.
Surely, the government's policy of land distribution is an outstanding one that is ensuring dead capital becomes life. And so that the Ministry of Housing, through the Surveyors Department, has indeed been bringing tangible benefits to the recipients of this overall policy program of this government. That this government would have been able to meet the challenges of housing in times of disaster for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
A number of fisheries and tourism stakeholders here and from other OECS member countries will over the next 3 days learn how to better collaborate and participate in activities that contribute to the sustainable use of coast and ocean resources. This at a workshop being held at the Sunset Shores Hotel. The OECS Regional Workshop on Best Practices in the Tourism and Fisheries sectors is hosted by the OECS Commission through funding from USAID. The main goal of the workshop is to increase the knowledge of key tourism and fisheries stakeholders on climate change impacts on their sectors and best practices for building resilience at the sectorial, organizational, and community levels. Addressing the opening ceremony earlier today, Director of the Social and Sustainable Development Division at the OECS Commission, Bentley Brown, says marine and coast resources play an important role in the region's development. Hence, the Commission is currently implementing an Eastern Caribbean Regional Policy Action Plan approved by the heads of governments of member states. He said they are working together on the finalization of a marine research strategy along with the development of a blue economy framework, which will entail greater use of the marine and coastal resources for economic advancement and sustainable livelihoods.
Sustainable management of our coastal and ocean resources will require enhancement of our knowledge and skills, new policies and strategies, integrated and multidisciplinary approaches, and unified actions and initiatives by all stakeholders. Despite the many conflicts that can arise due to the competing use of resources by both sectors and impact of climate change, there are, however, certain facets of this interface which we believe can be overcome through the convening of gatherings such as this one. Sharing of our varying experiences can go a long way in enhancing our management and style of resource use, which can be done to the benefit of all our people.
He says the 3-day workshop will seek to contribute to maintaining stable economies and providing for economic development and enhancing livelihoods, which are critical concerns for OECS member states.
Throughout the next 3 days, we will seek to create a forum for you the practitioners, to share your experiences and increase your knowledge on climate change impact on your sectors, and also for you to explore best practices for building resilience at the sectoral, organizational, and community levels. I therefore encourage you to work together and ensure that this workshop is a success. The workshop is designed in an interactive and practical way. You will be engaged in some active field work as well as the traditional lectures and presentation. You will be able to see some of the real issues and concerns in the tourism and fisheries sector in the southern area of St. Vincent. Take the opportunity afforded by this workshop to share information, offer constructive criticisms, discuss your concern, and most importantly, propose workable solutions. At the same time, I encourage you to use the opportunity over the next 3 days to renew or form friendship that will lead to building partnerships and working together to build resilience in these sectors.
The value of partnerships to improve the education sector has been emphasized at the opening of the annual Teacher Summer Program, which commenced here earlier today. The workshop, which will be held over the next 3 weeks, is a collaborative effort of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, the SVGTU, the Canadian Teachers Federation, CTF, the Ministry of Education, and the Basic Needs Trust Fund. President of the SVGTU, Oswald Robinson, says it is essential to foster affiliations which he says will ultimately benefit the children of this nation.
We have done many years of training together. So this is a wonderful partnership that we have, and it should only continue to bloom, to produce the fruits, and so that the children of St. Vincent and the Grenadines would benefit from all these efforts. A lot of money has been spent into training and development of teaching and education, and we want to applaud all hands on deck who have contributed in one way or the other to make these training realities.
Representative of the Canadian Teachers Federation, Dan Martin, thanked everyone for the hospitality and encouraged the participants to embrace the training.
And we are confident that each of you will return to your schools in September with new ideas, with new methods, with new energy to begin the next academic year with your students. Together we are strong, and divided we are weak. And so I want to leave you all with that message, because together we are stronger, and united we will accomplish more than we ever could as individuals. I encourage all of you to embrace this training opportunity over the next 2 weeks, and to work closely with your colleagues from St. Vincent and the Grenadines and from Canada as well.
And Chief Education Officer Luan Gilchrist pledged continuing support for the development of the nation's educators. Speaking on behalf of the Minister of Education, Gerlin Miguel, Gilchrist in her address says that cultivating partnerships in schooling advances the education system.
Our partners in education must be valued and viewed as strong forces for school improvement and effectiveness. They must all be recognized and commended for responding to the need for greater partnership, for realizing the prudence and importance of collaborating with the Ministry of Education in the continuous professional development of our teachers. It is both welcoming and comforting to know that we are not working in isolation, as we are aware of the numerous benefits that can be derived from pooling our various resources.
Advocating the importance of education as a means of eradicating poverty, Representative of the Basic Needs Trust Fund, Kenneth Douglas, says his organization is pleased to assist with continuing training for teachers.
We at the BNTF firmly believe that the greatest way out of poverty is through education. We firmly believe that. And although some people think that is a disconnect what the BNTF is supposed to do, because we are supposed to be interested in people think owning roads and other physical infrastructure, we believe that once we set the blueprint in the minds of the youngsters, that blueprint will put them in very good stead, and the nation by extension in good stead over the years to come.
Director of the Science, Technology, Engineering, English and Math STEM program, Petrus Gums, is reiterating the need for a more practical approach to learning. At the opening ceremony of the STEM annual summer program for youngsters at the St. Martin's Secondary School last Friday, Gums emphasized the need for teachers to open the interests of students into more unconventional teaching.
Get kids involved in planting without the use of soil. So the Ministry of Agriculture will be taking a big step on that, and they have with open arms welcomed them to their facility, their two facilities, one in Richland Park and one in Orange Hill. They will be taken there. The second trip will be going to the Vinlet Power Station, solar power station, and they are just waiting to grab them. I think they will be dressing them in hard hats and etc. So it's going to be pretty exciting. We are gearing up very well to get our kids them out there. We just don't want to teach them just by having them in the classroom between walls and teach them content in isolation. We want to show them that there are persons out there and there are careers out there that you can aspire to, other than the doctor and the lawyers that we see in the paper every week.
Local businesses are being encouraged to get involved with the Coast Guard's annual Youth Development Summer Program. The program is being supported by Sagicor Life Incorporated and the Bank of SVG Limited. Addressing the opening ceremony of this year's summer program earlier today at the Coast Guard base at Caliacua, Andre Boyd, Unit Manager of Sagicor Life Incorporated, says it is important for corporate partners to lend support to such national programs where meaningful development for the nation's youth is fostered. Boyd commended the Coast Guard organization for its commitment to the program and to the development of SVG's youth.
We believe it is important for corporate partners to lend support to national programs such as this, as it is through these partnerships that we work together as one community to foster meaningful development for our youths. Like the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Coast Guard, Sagicor Life Inc. has been a pillar of the Vincentian community for many years, since its establishment in 1840. Sagicor Life Inc. has been an active corporate citizen in the region, committed to development through education, sports, health, and our youths. This year, we are pleased to coordinate 2 sessions which will complement the camp's developmental program. The first will share insight on health and wellness, while the second will be a session on saving and budgeting.
Commander of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Coast Guard, Brayton Kane, says that the program has been a very successful one over the years with very high standards, adding that this year is expected to raise the bar even higher. Commander Kane used the opportunity to urge the participants to be on their best behavior and to learn from the life lessons and experiences that the program offers.
We have we call it the misbehaviors usually call the parents and get them out of here. And that would be nice on the record when you get home to meet your mother and the father. So make friends, learn, conduct yourself properly. That's the main thing. So on behalf of the Coast Guard, I officially welcome you on the Coast Guard base to start this year's Youth Development Summer Program.
Akin Hayward, a laborer of Kettles, was last Friday convicted on 2 separate charges of drug trafficking and possession of a controlled drug. Hayward was busted on January 7th this year with 1 kilo of cocaine on the seas. When he reappeared in court today, he was given a 2-year suspended jail sentence for the drug trafficking charge, and a fine of $23,000 was imposed on him for the charge of possession with intent to supply. He was ordered to pay $13,000 forthwith. In default, he will face 1.5 years in prison. The balance of $10,000 is expected to be paid by the end of July, failing which another 1.5 years jail term will be imposed.